Can everyone please be seated? Okay, last presentation for this day. Stay with me. So today we'll be talking about the sickle cell fever. Alright, so the picture on your right is the tombstone of this gentleman named Walter Clement Noel, and he was the first reported case of sickle cell in the United States. So his story is that back in 1904, he came to the United States from Grenada to go to medical school in Chicago. So a few months later, he developed severe respiratory distress and a leg ulcer, and then he ended up getting admitted in that same hospital that he was going to medical school for. So this gentleman on your left is James B. Herrick, and he was the attending physician for Walter Clement Noel. And he ended up publishing a picture of his blood smear that showed peculiar elongation and sickle-shaped red blood corpuscles in a case of severe anemia. And this became the first documented case of sickle cell in Western medicine. So to go back to Dr. Noel, he went back to Grenada back in 1907, which was about 3 years later, and he subsequently died at the age of 32 from acute chest syndrome. So almost 100 years later, we're still kind of dealing with the challenges of sickle cell disease. There have been many advances since then, and many lives have been saved. For example, back in 1973, the median age of death was only 14 years old. And the pediatric, if you look at the red, I'm not sure if you can see the colors, but the bottom line graph is the child rate, and it's been decreasing by about 3% every year. The upper line graph is the adult mortality rate, and it's been actually increasing by about 1% every year, and studies haven't really been able to say why that is. So according to the Journal of Pediatrics in 2009, the risk of sepsis was 100 times the normal population, and this was prior to vaccines and prophylactic antibiotics. Sickle cell-related death among Black or African American children younger than 4 years of age fell by about 42% from 1999 to 2002. And this drop coincided with the introduction in the year 2000 with the pneumococcal vaccine. So let's take a look at one of those advances that has been responsible for the decrease in pediatric mortality. This study from the New England Journal of Medicine was published in 1986, and it looked at the septic outcomes, specifically from strep pneumo, for patients that got daily penicillin prophylaxis in children with sickle cell anemia. It was a multi-centered, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial, and what this trial actually ended up terminating 8 months earlier because at the 15-month follow-up visit, they noticed that there was an almost 84% decrease in the incidence of infection in the group treated with the penicillin compared to placebo. So there was another article from Clinical Pediatrics in 2013, which was a retrospective chart review, looked at about 188 febrile patients with sickle cell disease that presented to the emergency room over a 10-year period. And they saw that the incidence for serious bacterial infections was about 16%, and out of that 16%, pneumonia was one of the culprits at 13.8%. In another recent study, the Journal of Pediatric Heme, which was another retrospective chart review from 1997 to 2001, they noticed that about 1% of children with sickle cell disease with fever have bacteremia despite getting penicillin prophylaxis and pneumococcal vaccines. So here's some food for thought. So 1% is a pretty low incidence, but the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Guidelines have yet to change their recommendations based on this incidence, so they kind of have to catch up with the current incidence. At the same time, we don't really have the evidence to say that we should not work these patients up and not give them antibiotics because none of these studies have been done to say otherwise. So the overall recommendations are that we're screening all children at birth for hemoglobinopathies, and all of them start getting penicillin prophylaxis, PO, at the age of 4 months. And if they're allergic to penicillin, they get erythromycin. And this PO prophylaxis is continued until the age of 5 years. Do you guys know why up until 5?
It's just this is not working. Maybe try.
Yeah.
Anyone have any ideas?
Hello?
It's because
Hello? Yeah. It's because there was another study that was done that looked at the benefit of actually continuing penicillin prophylaxis beyond 5 years of age, and it showed that there was pretty much no benefit to giving them more antibiotics after that age. So in the past 30 years, we've kind of come a long way, and we keep discovering new ways to manage this disease. But before we discuss the management, let's kind of go back to the basics. So sickle cell anemia results from an abnormality in the oxygen-carrying protein hemoglobin found in red blood cells. Problems usually begin around 6 months of age, and this is the time when the numbers of the fetal hemoglobin start to decline. Now, low oxygen tension starts promoting red blood cell sickling, and these cells fail to return to a normal stage when normal oxygen tension is restored. So the rigid blood cells are unable to deform as they pass through the capillaries, leading to vessel occlusion and ischemia. In the sickle hemoglobin, there is a defect in the beta globin chains, and those are the ones that are circled. And this causes a change in its structure. So instead of the molecules being free range like on your left, they clump together and form this rigid structure on your right, causing the sickling appearance. Now, sickle cell disease is not just hemoglobin SS, and does it matter? Why do we care? There's actually 4 versions of sickle cell, and on this slide you'll see them listed in the order of severity. The hemoglobin S beta 0 has the worst prognosis, to hemoglobin S beta having the least amount of symptoms. So it's worthwhile to ask your parent what type of sickle cell their child has. So in hemoglobin SS, which is the most common form of sickle cell disease, it occurs when you inherit 2 copies of the S gene, one for both parents. In hemoglobin SC, which is the second most common, and as you would expect, you inherit the S from one parent and the C from another parent, and this causes a heterozygosity. So that means that they have symptoms that are less severe than SS, but more severe than sickle cell trait. Anemia and reticulocytosis are frequently mild in these patients, and the majority of these patients have like a hematocrit that's about 28% or greater. And this difference is because of the RBC half-life. So in hemoglobin SC, their RBC life is about 27 days versus in hemoglobin SS, their lifespan is about 17 days. And in these patients, splenomegaly may be the only physical finding that you may see in your adult patients, and they're at risk for the same life-threatening complications as hemoglobin SS, but at a decreased frequency. So let's take a closer look at the thalassemia types. In sickle beta thalassemia, it's a different mutation in the beta globin gene that affects the production of your functional beta globin, and this leads to an excess of your alpha globin chains, and your alpha globins are in your green. And what happens is these alpha globin chains become unstable and they precipitate within the cell. In sickle beta 0 thalassemia, they have no normal hemoglobin. In sickle beta, there's a reduced amount of hemoglobin, so they have less severe symptoms. So in hemoglobin as beta 0, like I said, they have similar symptoms to SS, except they're more severe. They have a poorer prognosis, and they have a similar incidence to SS in terms of acute chest, pulmonary hypertension, stroke. They don't go through splenic infarction, and instead, similar to SC, they actually have splenomegaly into adulthood, and this causes a risk of splenic sequestration. This is a report from the American Journal of Medicine from 1986, and it reported actually 7 episodes of acute splenic sequestration crises in 4 adults. 2 of them had SC disease, and 2 of them had sickle thalassemia. And the crises were life-threatening, but in all of them, and returned in all of them, but luckily there were no grand fatalities. And this is important for you guys because it can present as an abdominal mass that may be misdiagnosed or undiagnosed in your adult patients. So what happens when sickle patients develop a fever? So they're prone to invasive infections with encapsulated bacteria because they are assumed to be either functionally asplenic, even if their spleen is intact. In your younger patients who are at the greatest risk are 6 months to 5 years of age, and this is because the development of protective antibodies is limited and their splenic function is either diminished or absent. And the most common pathogens that you would expect to see are strep pneumo and H. influenza. In your older patients, the most common pathogens you would expect to see are mycoplasma and salmonella. So in a patient that comes to the emergency room, you can maybe expect them to take one of 3 pathways. 1, they're septic, 2, they're not septic, or 3, they have a huge chest. So let's look at the risk factors for sepsis. They have a previous history of a bacterial infection. Their temperature is greater than 40 degrees Celsius, or more than 104 degrees Fahrenheit. They are toxic appearing. They look pale. They're cyanotic. The little ones are inconsolable or super irritable. They have a poor cap refill. They can be tachypnic and tachycardic. So this is our well-appearing child. Obviously, he doesn't look seriously ill. He's happy. He's got a reassuring history, reassuring physical. His vitals look fine. You draw his labs. They also look reassuring. And so, you discharge him with your Rosuvastatin or ceftriaxone dose of the ED, and you tell them to come back in 24 hours for the second dose. But the cornerstone in the management of even this well-appearing patient is the rapid initiation of antibiotics, and that's the most important step. If a patient you feel is unlikely to comply with a return to follow-up, you can technically admit those patients for the second dose of IV antibiotics. Now let's take a look at your septic child. They've got a fever, they are clearly septic appearing, maybe even, zombie looking. And the main thing to remember with these patients is that they can have clinical deterioration that may be extremely rapid, so you have to act very quickly with these kids. Again, you want to give them immediate antibiotics and aggressive management if you notice signs of shock. The treatment for these patients are going to be vancomycin on top of your already predestined ceftriaxone. If you see signs of maybe hypoxia, pallor, or maybe splenic sequestration, these patients would need an RBC transfusion or an exchange transfusion. And this is to correct the severe anemia and reduce the likelihood of the secondary organ damage caused by the massive sickling in the presence of either hypoxia, stasis, and acidosis. Now your acute chest. So your acute chest syndrome is defined by a new radiodensity that you see on your x-ray in the setting of fever and respiratory symptoms. And it can look as like a pneumonia or a pulmonary infarction. And these patients are tachypnic despite getting antipyretics. On your examination, you may hear rales or bronchi, or you may hear rales after you rehydrate the patient. And these patients, you can expect them to have a lower pulse ox on your vital signs. So the management of these patients are, you obviously get your chest x-ray, and the common pathogens that you have to consider when you're treating this patient are mycoplasma pneumonia, your strep pneumo, chlamydia trachomatis, and your gram-negatives. And again, along with your Rosuvastatin, you want to give azithromycin in these patients. Maybe administer some supplemental O2. And if you notice that their hemoglobin is dropping less than 5, or they become hypoxic, then they may warrant an RBC transfusion. Now, the problem is that there's a common occurrence of a fever, and then there's no source of where this fever is coming from in young children with sickle cell disease. And that makes it a frustrating problem because you're not sure, are they having some kind of invasive bacterial illness, or is this just like a viral syndrome that you could maybe get supportive care for? And there's no single lab test that tells you, other than the blood culture, what can accurately identify a subject patient. And there's actually different practices even within our own institution. So what is the solution? So the solution is to standardize management using clinical pathways and protocols. So institutions like CHOP, Tufts Medical Center, University of Chicago Medicine, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, Duke Children's, all these institutions have their own clinical pathways and protocols for treating a sickle cell with fever. And this is to prevent missed cases of sepsis and to not overtreat your well child. And now we are going to be one of those institutions. So I'd like to introduce to you our own sickle cell fever pathway. Okay, so this pathway has been approved by the Pediatric Hemonc Department as well as the Pediatric Emergency Room Department. So I'd like to kind of go through this pathway with you all. All right, so first part, your patient has sickle cell SS, SC, S beta, some sort of S beta, and they come in with a fever with a temperature greater than or equal to 101 degrees Fahrenheit. No, not 100.8, no, not 100.9, nothing less than that, 101 and greater. So as soon as this patient comes in, they warrant a rapid MD or RN assessment. And your assessment is going to include your vital signs, the mental status of the patient, how are they breathing, how's their circulatory status, do they have a hepatosplenomegaly, and check their pulse ox. So after that rapid assessment is done, the attending is informed. And then they go through a rapid diagnostic workup. So at the minimum, for all these patients, sicklers with a fever, they get a CBC and a dip, a retic count, and a blood culture. That's what all the patients should get. Now, if you think that they're going down the septic path or they don't look well, then you can consider getting a type N screen. If they have respiratory symptoms, then you get a chest x-ray and a viral culture. If you suspect a UTI, then they get a UA and a urine culture. So then once this is done, you go in and get a more detailed physical history and physical. And within 1 hour of arrival, all of these patients should get ceftriaxone. I'll go over the dosing of it. Next part. Let's start with the well-appearing patient on the right. So this is a patient, like I said, has reassuring vital signs, reassuring history physical. These patients would qualify for outpatient management. So you tell them to come back in 24 hours for their second dose of ceftriaxone. In the meantime, if you notice that their blood culture comes back positive at some point, then you have to see if this is a true blood culture or is this a contaminant. If it's a contaminant, you redraw them and you discharge them. And if you happen to find a source on your examination, then you treat them just like any other child after they've gotten their second dose of ceftriaxone. So if they've got, let's say, strep pharyngitis, then you treat them like any other child that has strep pharyngitis. If they have otitis media, then you treat them like any other child who has otitis media. I mean, they've already gotten 2 doses of ceftriaxone, which pretty much treats it anyways. Or if they've got viral symptoms, you just tell the mom to treat the patient with Tylenol, Motrin, and supportive care. And then just make sure that these patients have good hemonc follow-up afterwards. You don't have to page peds hemonc for these patients necessarily. Now, if the blood culture is truly positive based on how they appear, then you either admit them to the PICU or you send them to the floor. Now let's look at the middle pathway, which is acute chest. So, like I said, their chest X-ray has semi-radiodensity, they've got respiratory symptoms, and they've got the fever. So, on top of the ceftriaxone, you're giving them azithromycin and you're paging pediatric hemonc. reassess these patients, and if, they look stable, send them to the floor. If they're unstable, send them to the PICU. Now the last section is the toxic appearing patient. So there are some lab values that kind of qualify for this criteria. Their WBC count should be more than 30,000 or higher, or their leukopenic less than 5,000 or less. Their hemoglobin is less than 5, their platelet count is less than 100,000. They've got a previous history of bacterial sepsis, previous history of ICU admission, their temperature is greater than 104. They have splenic sequestration on exam, or they have some sort of invasive bacterial illness, like for example, osteomyelitis. So these patients, you're paging pediatric hema, reassess how they are, and you either admit them to the floor or the PICU after your initial management. If they show signs of shock, then you treat them like they're in shock. You give them your normal saline boluses and add vancomycin to your regimen. Now the yellow box on the bottom, not sure if you can see it in the back, but it has the big per kg dose of how much you should give. So you don't need to go looking on up to date. These are the recommendations based on a lot of guidelines and also the pediatric hemonc department. So for ceftriaxone, you're giving them 75 mg per kg. There's a max dose of 2 grams. Vanco is 15 mg per kg, max dose of 1 gram. Azithro, 10 mg per kg, max dose of 500 milligrams. And if any of these patients happen to have a ceftriaxone allergy, then they actually get clindamycin and get admitted because they need IV Q6 antibiotics. So that is a nutshell of the sickle cell fever pathway. I'd like to give special thanks to Drs. Chow, Zhang, Rollo, and Gus for helping me with the pathway. I'll take any questions.
This may not be something we do here. I'm just curious if there's other places. So, you start out with this pathway of sending the kid home, obviously going up to be home. Another blood pressure comes back positive. Are there any places that continue to send these kids home if they're a well-bearing kid and continue to do daily antibiotics for a week or two, depending on what the bug is, or just send home to the hospital?
So this patient is ours. The question is, the blood culture comes back positive while this patient is at home.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you would probably want to call that child back.
No, I'm saying they're coming back with daily antibiotics. You sent their culture now comes back positive, but you felt that they were well enough to go home. They're doing well, they're improving with the ceftriaxone. Now you're only admitting them because you have a positive culture. Are there any places that continue to send those kids home with either be IV antibiotics for 2 weeks or daily emergency room?
The different institutions have different guidelines. So there are some that are more stringent than others. Even for example, in CHOP, even in the well-appearing patient, they actually admit all of them. So it depends on from institution to institution. In this situation, if it's a true blood culture, they should probably be admitted. Yeah. Any other questions?
Just kind of going back to Dr. Hamlin's lecture in terms of for sepsis, she mentioned procalcitonin. Is it in the sepsis population not flipping or?
Yeah, I think that in a case of septic shock, I would just follow the sepsis protocol that Dr. Praneetha had mentioned. It's not exactly written out in this pathway, but I would maybe defer to her pathway if this patient is in shock. So all of the labs and everything, the types of boluses that she mentioned, I would follow that pathway once you notice that they're in septic shock. Any other questions? Good, thank you.
So if everyone wants to make their way down to the ALRC, we're going to do some deep stuff down there. Nobody can do it. Maybe someday they will send these kids. Obviously not there yet.